Hi, welcome back to the Global Holistic Podcast. This is The Conversation Continues. And today we're talking about something that probably all of us have struggled with at some point in our lives. How do you just get over caring about what other people think? So, in the mental health field, I am always surprised when I realize how much of things that are going on inside of us are connected to our fear of either disappointing others or our fear of what someone else might think. And of course, I want to start off by saying sometimes it's a good thing to care about what other people think about us, right? We don't want to be that jackass or that bad person who people just don't want to be around. We always want to be kind, and sometimes that requires us to do some introspection to think about how we're showing up, right? So first and foremost, it's not always a bad thing to be thinking about how you're showing up to other people, right? So that's not exactly what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about more like when you care about what other people think to your detriment. So it's not about trying to be a good person. It's more about getting in your way from taking a risk. Let's say you started a new business and you have this awesome social media post ready to go and you're about to post it, and then you just get in your head about what your friends or your family members are going to say if you post this. So you don't post it. Or you're going to go out for a new job in a new field, but you're worried about what your friends, your family might say about this new job shift. So you don't do it, even though it's something you really want to do. So that's really the space we're talking about today, is when that fear of what other people think holds us back.
Yeah, perfectly worded. It is a balance of caring, but not just as you said, caring to the point where it's harmful for us and kind of zaps our peace. I remember having a teacher many years ago say that what other people think of you is none of your business. And I remember thinking that was ridiculous. What do you mean it's none of my business? They're talking about me. And what the teacher was sharing is that it's the other person's perspective. And so, I remember kind of thinking of this example more for myself and then ending up sharing it with clients. I thought of a piece of art, hanging on a wall, and someone walks by and says, "Oh, that's beautiful, most beautiful piece of art I've ever seen." And then somebody else walks by and says, that they call that art, that's trash. So which is it? Is the art beautiful or is it trash? And should the piece of art feel good or feel bad? That is what my teacher meant by it's none of your business, because it's the perception of each individual person. Wouldn't you agree, Jay?
Absolutely. And, I want to add to that by just saying that not only is it none of our business what other people think, but we can't take it personally, good or bad, right? If somebody has a bad thought about us, it's more of a reflection of the experiences that have happened in their life and the projections that they're making in their trigger points, most likely than ours. But same is true for good, right? We go chasing validation, but it's not about us either, right? That's going to be a reflection of what the other person either values or something they're hoping to bring in to their personality traits and accomplish, or something they've already accomplished so they feel confident enough giving you a compliment because they've already done it, right? So it doesn't really work that way. It's not really about us anyway, so the whole thing is kind of an illusion.
It really is. And, that's why it's so important for us to kind of take a look at the why. Why do we look for external validation? And really, how can we get to that place where it's always nice, to get that compliment, or even, we can deal with constructive criticism. How do we get to that place of balance where we're not taking it personally, where it becomes harmful? And one of the coaching tips I'd like to offer you is when you can develop qualities within yourself. So in other words, you're focusing on your own self-worth. And when you can develop these qualities, it kind of opens the door for kind of that self-evaluation where you get specific what's important to you, like who do you want to be in this lifetime regardless of who other people are being. And when you develop things that, let's say, kindness is important to you, or compassion or humor or any qualities, these are things that no one can take away from you. These are things that are not subject to what someone else thinks of you. And so the more you kind of become solid in who you want to be, the less you're going to be at the effect of other people's opinions.
That's so true because we can't control what other people think. We can't control how they're going to show up. We can't control whether or not they're going to like us, what they're going to say about us, right? The only thing we can control is how we want to be. And in order to get there, in order to show up the way that is congruent with our best self, we need to reflect on that. We need to have our morals and values check-ins to know who we want to be, right? And how we want to show up. I think it's something like most people have over 70,000 thoughts a day. And most of the time, we don't even know what we're thinking. So just doing your own work, we're checking in on what's coming up for you and what your fears are and why you're so afraid of disappointing someone else can be really important, right? Because a lot of times this comes from childhood. It comes from where we got our values, our morals, but also our self-worth. What were we praised for? Were we praised for being pretty? So it's important for us that everybody thinks we're pretty. Were we praised for being smart? So it's important for everyone in the room to know that we're smart. A lot of times this work isn't about the other person anyways. It's about us and kind of coming to terms of how we came to be the way that we are and why we need that validation so desperately.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that, as you were talking, what came to my mind is, a client years ago, and this client was really upset about a coworker.
Mm,
It came back to this person that the coworker was saying unkind things behind their back. And, as we were talking about why it bothered this person so much, I asked a question. I said, well, this particular person, is this somebody that you really admire? And I asked this person to consider the source.
yeah,
Oftentimes we get so caught up in what somebody else is thinking about us, and they're not even actually living the life that's in alignment with what we value or what we think.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes we're feeling less than and feeling put down by someone who might not even have the qualities that are important to us. So that's another thing, how to not be caught up in what other people think, is consider the source. That's really
Mhm.
cool.
I just want to highlight that because I feel like that's so important, right? A lot of times we're chasing validation from people that when we really look at it, we're like, huh, this person actually isn't in line with who I am. So it makes sense that they don't like me because I'm opposite from everything they are. And I'm showing them, an opposite way of living. So yeah, okay, I get it. There was a interview with somebody who wrote a book about overcoming being socially awkward. And I can't think of her name. She's really funny, actually. She did a TED Talk and she's pretty funny. And she did an interview on Diary of a CEO. And she was describing it as some people in your life are just going to be allergic to you no matter what you do. Authentically you, when you do all this work to become authentically you, and you show up and you're like, here I am.
Yeah.
Some people are going to see that and they're just going to sneeze or they're going to cough, and you can't take that personally. And it's just some people are going to be allergic to you. And so when we go around trying to be liked by everybody, we are contradicting ourselves, and we're actually, in a funny way, trying to control other people. In a weird way, it's manipulation, because if we're not being authentic to who we are and we're trying to show up to be liked by somebody else, that is actually an effort to control them in some way or manipulate them in some way. And we've got to actually turn the lens back around and look at that behavior and say, why aren't I showing up? Why didn't I speak my truth? Why did I give that person a version of myself that I thought they would like instead of being authentic to who I am? Like, what is this about, right? What is this about? Controlling the narrative, or what's going on here? And it's something to really think about. And then the other thing I think about a lot is that we all have to give ourselves grace here because we're kind of wired this way, evolutionary, purposes for that. We're pack animals, so it benefits us to be liked by the group because then the group wants to stay with us. We're not pushed out of the group. That's kind of a survival mechanism. And in my opinion, it's a little bit about fear. It's like modern world has evolved in a way where we don't need that survival mechanism anymore. Like we nowadays, we're probably going to be okay on our own if everyone doesn't like us. And also, think about this. It used to be in our entire life, we might meet 50 to 100 people. Now, with social media and the internet, we can interact with millions of people in the lifespan. So, our chances of being liked by everybody, that would be impossible. Things are changing really fast based off of social media. And so, that's the part too, where I think that how we're wired for survival is not necessarily matching our modern lifestyles.
Great points, and so helpful. I think, we've covered a couple of really good coaching tips to help people have that balance, between that constructive criticism where it would be useful, versus where it's going to be a blocker from living their best selves, our best selves. And, the last thing I'm going to add is what I find has been helpful to me personally, and also I've shared with clients over the years is, to focus on what you're giving, not necessarily what's coming back. And that's giving with unattachment. That's one of the universal spiritual laws, giving with unattachment. And not easy, however, worthwhile. And when we focus on what we're putting out there, it's so beautiful. We're less consumed with what's coming back. So
Absolutely. And it's so basically what we're saying here, guys, is focus on who you want to be and focus on how you're showing up. And if you're showing up fully self-expressed, congruent, inside and outside of the person you want to be, then you're doing it, right? You're checking all the boxes. You're living your life perfectly, regardless of how you land with other people. That's all we can do. So just really know who you want to be and show up that way, right? That's all we can do. And then you put it out there. You be the best version of yourself you could be. You be kind, you be respectful. And if it doesn't land, that's okay.
And some things just organically through awareness become part of us. So be patient with yourself. And remember, once you hear something, you can't unhear it. Once you know something, you can't unknow it.
Mm.
Just by listening to this podcast today, seeds have been planted, and perhaps you'll feel more comfortable with some of the things that we shared, and it'll help you, it'll help you on your way. So
And we have some wonderful guided meditations that can help you with positive affirmations, picking a mantra, I am enough, I am worthy, I am being true to myself. All of those things can be helpful. And we also have some tips and tricks on our website, globalholisticcoaching.com. Check it out. We offer a variety of different courses throughout the year, live courses with us. And also, sometimes if you can't make it, that's okay. Video playback is available. So we have a lot of tools for you if you're looking to increase your confidence or increase that feeling of self-worth. As always, thank you for showing up. We'll see you next time.
see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.